Please welcome the one and only Jerry Weintraub. Good. Please take a seat, Jerry.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sparkling or flat?
Flat.
Flat, Liza.
Are you
Okay.
a waiter?
No, I'm a waiter and I'm the host.
Both. This must be a good side, that side.
Exactly.
You didn't ask me where I wanted to sit.
Where would you like to sit?
Down there.
Okay, I can understand that
With
perfectly.
that. I sit with that.
Jerry, it's a great honor to have you here. First of all, I would like to know, how are you and how much fun have you been having in Zurich so far?
I'm having a great time. I had a lot of fun today. It's my first time in Zurich. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. Carl, thank you if you're here, unless you left already. And I want to thank everybody here with the festival. I think it's incredible. And I'm staying at a hotel that's just fantastic. I've never seen one like it, and I've been all over the world, been traveling my whole life, which is a long life. I'm going to be 75 Wednesday, so it's been a while. And this hotel is absolutely beautiful. What's the name? I don't know. Dolder Grand, right? Dolder Grand. And
That's where most of them staying too.
Oh, yes? You're all staying there? Because it's very quiet. I never see anybody there. Why don't you all come over for dinner? You're on call. It's no problem. So it's a beautiful hotel, and they have, I collect art, and he has the owner. I don't know the owner. I haven't met him. But he has a wonderful art collection all over the hotel. So Boteros and Andy Warhols and some of the great artists, Mel Ramos, a lot of great artists, and I'm enjoying it immensely. I haven't had a lot of time to look around. They take me to dinner, they take me out of dinner, they put me in a room, they put a microphone in my hand, they ask me questions like about William Tell, who I didn't know was from Switzerland. So I said, why the hell are you asking me about William Tell? You want to hear about Brad Pitt? I could tell you something about that. But so we got into William Tell today, and some fellow who was interviewing me. I had about 35 interviews, I think you know, at the hotel, and they asked me all kinds of questions, very important things, very important for world matters, like when is Brad and Angelina getting married? Can you give us the exact date and the location? And does George Clooney sleep in bottoms or tops? And why does he only keep a girlfriend for 2 years? Very important questions like that. So I answered all those things. I came all the way to Zurich.
Everything about that as well?
Of course.
Good.
I came all the way to Zurich to answer questions. No, seriously, I've had a great time, and I did meet a lot of very nice people in the film business, and very good reporters, and they asked a lot of very good questions. And now I get a chance to sit with you and hear your wonderful accent. You have a wonderful German. You do wonderful. Are you German?
No, I was. This is a different kind of interview now. I thought I was interviewing you. No, I was born in Phoenix.
No one ever interviews me. I always end up interviewing them.
Okay, good. No, I was born in Phoenix, but I grew up in Germany, so I'm based in Hamburg.
That's great. You sound great. That's
Thank you.
No, that's why they
Goodbye.
like you.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay.
That's all I need for tonight.
Good.
No, but Jerry, let's get started, because as you've been saying it, I mean, you have led a business life for 2 lifetimes. I mean, the career, and it's just amazing. And you are a true inspiration to most of us sitting right here. And I read an interview with your brother, and he basically said that the spark for you to get into the entertainment industry was when you and your mom and dad and your brother went on this road trip all around the U.S. and you stopped at the Grauman's Chinese Theater in L.A. and you said, I want to go into the business. Is that true?
That could. Yeah. Well, we'll go through that. I just want to.
Okay.
Just want to back up for 1 second. You said to most of us here. Why? Not all.
No, all.
Oh. Okay.
All.
Okay.
I
So,
meant all.
okay. Now we can get back to the Chinese.
Okay.
theater.
To the Grauman's.
When I was, I have to go back a little further than that trip. I had a wonderful mother and father. My family came originally from Austria, and then part of my family's from Austria and the other part from Russia. They came to America, and I had a terrific mother and father who were not wealthy, but they gave me a tremendous amount of wealth because they gave me a tremendous amount of love and understanding and taught me a lot. My mother was afraid of everything in life. And she didn't ever go anywhere. She could never live above the second floor of a house because she was afraid of the height. She could never go on an airplane. She could never go and do anything by herself because she was frightened of everything in life. But she read incessantly. She loved to read. And she loved cinema. And she went to cinema all the time. That's how she lived. That was her travel, her mode of travel, was reading a book and going on a trip in the book with the author of the book. And she read to me every night when I was a child. And she read every great novel to me and every great author. And I used to fall asleep listening to her voice. And I can still hear her voice when I go to sleep at night. And my father was artistic as well, and he played the saxophone and painted, as well as designed jewelry. So he had an artistic side and a business side. When we were, after the war, the Second World War, and most of you I know weren't born, or not even thought about probably, but after the Second World War, I was born in 1937, so in 1945, when the war was over, my father knew many people who came from Europe, and they brought jewelry with them because that's all they could get out with when they left in 1941, 42, 43. And he bought that jewelry and sold it, and that's how he made a living. And in 47, when I was 9, or 46 when I was 9, he took my brother and I, my brother was 2 years younger, he made enough money to take 3 months vacation. It wasn't really a vacation. He lied to my mother. And he told my mother he was going to stop working for 3 months and go on a vacation. And he took us across the United States from New York to California, which is, most people who live in America never go across the United States. They go to one place. Like most people who live anywhere, they never get to see things, they never get to see what's really around them. They don't stop to smell the roses. He wanted us to see the beauty of the United States, so he took us across the country. And we stopped in every place along the way, saw all the sights and so on and so forth. And when we finally got to California, to Hollywood, I was graduating from the 6th grade. I don't know how you do school here. They have 6th grade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was 9, so. Wow. So 9 years old. And I had an autograph album book. And we got to Beverly Hills, California, where I live now, on a big estate. And when we got there, I went to get autographs of the movie stars. That's what I wanted to do. And in those days, the movie stars, people who became my friend later on in life, were Joan Crawford and Clark Gable and Jimmy Stewart and Rita Hayworth and those people, Cary Grant and Lucille Ball, and they all were in front of their houses. They were gardening and doing things, and I stopped with my book. And my autograph book, went and got all their autographs. I was just so taken with the movies, so taken with these people. And I still have that book. That's now locked away in a safe because of who I am. It's worth a lot of money on eBay, so we're very careful with it that nobody steals it. But I do have that book. And while we were there, we went down to the Chinese theater, Grauman's Chinese theater, and to look at the handprints and footprints of the movie stars. And we put our feet in their footprints, and we put our hands in their handprints, and we touched their names and so on. And later on, as time would have it, as life takes its turns. As you can see, when I stop talking, you'll know I'm dead. I give long answers to simple questions.
I have about 120 of these.
That's all right. You'll never get there tonight.
This is going to last until
You'll never
Wednesday.
get there tonight. Anyway, when I put my hands and footprints in the cement, I'm the only producer in front of Grauman's to this day who has his hands and footprints in the cement at the Chinese theater. And the only reason I got the honor was because they called George Clooney. They asked him to do his hands and footprints, and he said, I won't do it unless Jerry Weintraub does it. And then they called Matt Damon. They said, well, you will do you. He said, not without Jerry Weintraub. And then they called Brad Pitt, and they asked him, and he said, not without Jerry. Jerry has to be there. So we all went together, and Paul Block, who's here tonight with me, who's been with me for 40 years, said, you have to stand in between Brad and George. That way they'll never be able to take up your handprints and footprints. They'll never take them away. So we went out in a line, and we did this ceremony, and it was quite something, quite incredible for me, because I had been there as a child and done this, walked around and put my hands and footprints. So I'm very, very proud of that. But the funny part of the story, I can tell this, is a little off color, but it's not really off color. Can I? Yes, okay. So when you put your footprints in the cement, they take your shoes and they put them in a museum in Hollywood. They take them away. So you have to have another pair of shoes waiting. But George Clooney is such a prankster that he went out the night before and he bought 3 pair of shoes, size 14s, big, very large shoes. And I have my size 10 shoes. And you know what they say about a man who has big feet. So all these guys have these big shoes in there, and I have my little feet in there. That's the Chinese theater.
I like your shoes, by the way. It says Ocean 70.
These shoes were given to me when I was 70, and Nike made them for me, and they say Ocean 70 on them, and it's the images of the Ocean's movies. They made them as a gift for me. These are also going on eBay, so you all look.
Jerry, you've already been talking about your friendship to George and to Brad and to Matt. I would like to jump back a little in time and talk to you about the beginnings of your career in music, especially as a manager. I think you break through the way that you put in your book and in the documentary came with managing Elvis Presley's tour. The story, how you got that job, is amazing. How did you do it? Because at that time he didn't want to tour, and his manager didn't want him to go on tour. Yeah. How did you do it?
Well, I was not successful at all at that time. I was about 24 years old or something, 25. And I was in bed one night with Jane, that lady.
Hi, Jane.
And
Welcome. Big round of applause, please. Welcome to Zurich. And welcome Susie as well. Susie as well. Another big round of applause for Susie.
And I had a dream. I literally had a dream. And I dreamt that I saw a sign, not a sign from Jesus, but a sign that said, Jerry Weintraub presents Elvis at Madison Square Garden. And I woke Jane up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said, Jane, and Jane was a big star at that time. She was a big singing star. I woke her up and I said, I want to tell you something. I'm going to be Elvis Presley's promoter. I'm going to take him on tour. She said, do you know Elvis Presley? I said, no. She said, well, why don't you go back to sleep? It's 3:15 in the morning. Anyway, the next morning, I literally called his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, and got him right on the phone. Most important people get on the phone immediately. It's people who are not important that you can't reach. Important people you could get right away. They admit because they have nothing to hide. They don't run anywhere. But so he got right on the phone, and I called. He said, no, it's not going to be. I don't want him to tour, and he's not working. He's retired, and it's not. You can't take him on tour. I said, well, I'm going to take him on tour. I know I am. He said, no, you're not. We did this every morning for a year, 1 year, a solid year. The same conversation. Good morning, Colonel. Good morning, Jerry. I want to take Elvis on tour. No, Jerry. Thank you, Colonel. Every morning. We did that every morning. Finally, one morning, I got a phone call from him. The phone call came the other way. And he said to me, do you still want to take Elvis on tour? And I said, yes, very much. So he said, well, you show up in Las Vegas tomorrow, 9 o'clock or whatever time, well, 2 days, he gave me 2 days, I think, with $1 million. And we'll make a deal and you can take Elvis on tour. Now, $1 million to me then, my God, you know, all I could think about was Rockefeller and people like that. You know, I didn't even know what that meant, $1 million. And I said, fine, I'll be there. And I had a lot of people around New York City who thought I was a very bright young kid, and I was doing a lot of stuff that they thought was great. And they used to pat me on the back and say, now, if you ever need anything, kid, give me a call because I'm going to help you out, and I want to be in business with you, and I want to help you and do things with you. I called every one of those guys. I got not 5 cents. Nobody gave me anything, nothing. Couldn't find them. No. Finally, I just got on an airplane, and I went to Las Vegas, and I waited, and I was still making calls and waiting for calls to come back. And I got a call from a guy in Seattle, Washington, who owned a radio station. And he said, I got a message from somebody that you're looking for $1 million to take Elvis on tour. I said, yes, I am. He said, well, what if I give you $1 million, what do I get for it? And I said, I'll give you 50% of all my concerts that I ever do forever. Just give me the $1 million. And he said, okay, you got a deal. And he sent me the $1 million. And I gave him 50% of Frank Sinatra, Bob Dylan, Led Zeppelin, the Moody Blues, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, et cetera, And once he had made probably, I don't know, $75 or $100 million, he called me up one day and he said to me, don't send me any more money. He said, I'm now embarrassed. So that was the end of that deal. But what I found out later on as life went on and time went on, I was invited to a comedian's house named Danny Kaye. Have you ever heard of Danny Kaye? He did many movies and a wonderful artist. He invited me over for dinner in Beverly Hills one night, and I went over to his house. He liked to cook Chinese food. He had a wok, and he was a wonderful Chinese cook. And he was cooked me dinner, and I was eating my dinner, and he said to me, Jerry, you know, just the two of us, he said, Jerry, you know, I want to thank you. I said, for what? What are you thanking me for? He said, all the money you made me. I said, what are you talking? I don't have, I paid you, did a couple of shows for me. I gave you $7,500. He said, Jerry, I gave you $1 million. That was my $1 million. And so he made all that money. It was Danny Kaye, which was great. He was a great guy, so it was worthwhile.
Sounds good.
That's how I got Elvis.
That was a good deal.
That's how I got Elvis. And 3 weeks after, well, you want me to continue on?
Yeah, exactly, because I think Elvis had a demand on, you know, once you organized the concert.
He did. But I know how many questions you have.
I have 100. We have plenty of time. I don't think anyone needs to go anywhere.
The Presley, the Presley saga, we'll just finish that. He said to me, when I met him, I gave the $1 million to his manager. His manager put it in his desk, and he took me up to meet Elvis. Elvis was 3 years older than me. And we sat down, and he said to me, I said, Elvis, I'm really excited. He said, thank you, sir. He was a very nice guy. He always called me sir, always, you know. And I had long hair, and, you know, I didn't look like sir, sir anybody. Anyway, maybe Sir Lancelot or something. Anyway, he said to me, I said to him, is there anything that I can do for you? Would you like to, anything you want or need on the tour? He said, yes, I have a couple of things I'm very interested in. I said, what is that? He said, I want the first 20 rows in the theater to have my fans in them. I don't want any big shots. I don't want the governor or the mayor or the prime minister or the president. I want my fans, because I can't perform unless my fans give me something, then I can perform. That was one. He said, and secondly, and most importantly, no empty seats. He said, I don't want to look out in the theater and see empty seats. It makes me feel bad. And it makes me, I can't perform if I see empty seats. I said, okay, no empty seats. So I proceeded to put him on tour for 3 weeks. And the first date I put him on was a theater in Miami Beach, Florida, over the July 4th weekend. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever been to Miami Beach, Florida, but it's very humid. The crocodiles leave over July 4th. It's so humid. They won't even stay there. Anyway, I put him there, and the show sold out. The box office called me and said, the show sold out. You want to do a matinee? And I said, let me ask Elvis. So I went to see Elvis. I said, you want to do a matinee? He said, are we sold out? I said, yeah, we're sold out. He said, great, sure, I'll do anything. Sure. How many people? I said, 11,000. Great, do it. So I put this show on sale, second show on sale. And when I got down to Miami on July 3rd with Elvis and his manager, I went over to the arena, the venue that we were playing, and I walked in the box office, and I saw all these tickets in the box office. They were in these racks. And I said to the box office manager, what are those tickets? He said, they're for the matinee show. I said, you told me we were sold out. He said, well, we got 5,000 seats left for the matinee. I said, no, please don't tell me that. He said, yes, we do. So I went into the theater. Elvis was in there doing a sound check, and his manager, Colonel Parker, was there. And I went to the colonel, and I said, Colonel, we have a problem. He said, we do? What's the problem? I said, I have 5,000 seats left for the second matinee show. He said, son, we don't have a problem. You have a problem. So I didn't know what to do, and I went out for a little walk, and next door to the arena, there's a jail, Miami Beach. No, I didn't invite the prisoners to the show. And I went into the jail, and I made a deal with the warden. And all this stuff is documented on pictures and things. I made a deal with the warden to let the prisoners come into the theater and take out 5,000 seats for me for the matinee show. We unscrewed them from the floor. They were screwed. We put them out in the parking lot, and we put a tarpaulin over them so you couldn't see them. And Elvis came to the theater, and he walked in. He said to me, "Jerry, how are we doing?" I said, "We're sold out. There's not a seat in the place." He said, "Not a seat?" I said, "Not a seat in the house." And he went on. He did the matinee, and he was fine. It was great. And then they did the night show. He loved it. And we went out for something to eat. And I said, "You okay?" He said, "Yeah." He said, I'm thinking about something." I said, "What?" He said, "The people are much more exuberant at night than they are in the daytime." Of course, there were twice as many people. He didn't know that. So, and we became great friends. And 3 weeks later, we finished in San Diego, California, and I was a multimillionaire. That's how it started.
Not only you, I think Danny Kaye as well.
Danny Kaye too.
Jerry, just from that story, there are a couple of things that stand out. I mean, character traits that have defined your career: optimism, determination, and I think the way that you handled these kind of obstacles and problems is really impressive, because I think there was nothing that you were afraid of. What else did you take with you from that experience managing the tour of Elvis Presley?
Well, first, I didn't manage it. I owned it, promoted it. But
okay, you owned it.
That's much different.
Okay, you owning the
yeah.
Elvis
But basically, I never saw any of those things that happened to me in my career, including the last movie I just made, and including many films that I made over the last 40 years, and many shows I produced, and many Broadway shows and television shows, et cetera, et cetera. I never saw anything that happened to me as an obstacle. I saw it as something that was a reason to succeed, a way to do it better, a way to find a way to get it done. I never looked at it. I never got depressed, and I never said, "I can't make this happen. I'm not going to make it happen." I was focused, and I gave up a lot with that focus. I didn't spend a lot of time with my family. I missed that. But I worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I cared. That's what I cared about. I cared about solving problems, being successful. Anytime an obstacle presented itself, I used it to my advantage and made it work. And I never heard the word no. If I heard the word no, it meant maybe. And then I made maybe yes. So that's the way I approached everything. Not consciously either. I did it just because that's what I did.
I mean, as you've been saying it, you took it as a chance to basically grow with what you did. Nowadays, people talk a lot about, going to college, university, studying certain things, and then, going into that business. The way that you handled it is that you took on the duty of owning the Elvis tour, and then at some point you said, I want to move into the film business and produce movies. What was the initial spark to do so, and was it something that was just inside of you that had to get out?
Well, what happened was I got so engrossed and so big in the music business, and I owned so many theaters and venues, and I bought more radio time than Coca-Cola in those days. That's how big my concerts were. I had concerts on every night, someplace in the world. Every night, a big concert somewhere. And I had all the big artists, every big artist. There wasn't anybody that worked that I didn't promote. So it got so, and I had hundreds of people working for me, and it got it was just overwhelming. It was truly overwhelming, and I wasn't happy. And I wasn't happy because I wasn't myself. I had no identity. I don't know if I'm making myself clear because of the language, if there's a language barrier, but I didn't have my own identity. My identity depended on Elvis Presley or Frank Sinatra or Led Zeppelin or the Moody Blues or the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or John Denver or Neil Diamond or the Carpenters or whoever. That was when they said Jerry Weintraub, they said those names, those days. They never gave me credit for anything. Everything was, and I wanted it. I needed that. And I wanted a creative outlet. I had things I wanted to do, things I wanted to say, stories I wanted to tell, people I wanted to know. And I couldn't live in other people's shadow. It's just not who I was. So I came to work one morning. By that time, I was very wealthy. I had a lot of money, and could do anything I wanted to do. I came to work one morning, and I looked at my telephone list. And I saw, my secretary gave it to me, and I saw all the people's names on there that I didn't want to call back, that I had to call back because that was my business. And I said, I'm going to quit this business right now. And I called everybody into my office, all my managers and the people that worked for me, the top echelon people. And I said, I have a gift for you. You have the company. I'm leaving. And they said, no, you can't do that. I said, yes, I can. I'm doing it. And I called all the artists, and I told them what I was doing. And they all remained friendly with me my whole life and their whole lives. And I just gave up that side of what I was doing, and I started making movies. I made Nashville.
So, but Nashville basically came to you rather than you were looking for it, as far as
Yeah, Nashville came to me in a very strange way. I became very friendly with George Bush Sr., the first George Bush, president of the United States, before he was president of the United States. And when he was ambassador to the United Nations, I lived in New York. And we had a wonderful place in New York, and I invited him as ambassador to the United Nations with his wife to come to a concert at Carnegie Hall with John Denver. And he said to me, I'd like to bring some ambassadors. Could I get 100 tickets, bring 50 ambassadors and their wives? And I said, yeah, that's sure, why not, sure. And I told Jane about it, and she said, well, you can't just have a bunch of ambassadors, for a show and not have a party. You have to have a party. It's not right. So I said, well, do what you want. So she made this party. And in those days, they had a list in New York of celebrities that were in town. And they would, the Blackwell list it was called, and you could get that list, and then you could phone these people up. And on the list was Robert Altman, who had made McCabe and Mrs. Miller at the time, and MASH. And I said, gee, I love those movies. Those are great movies. And we put him on a guest list. And he came over to the house, and one thing led to another, and we sat down in the corner, and he said to me, you should be a movie producer. You'd be a great movie producer. And I said, well, I'm thinking about it. I want to do it someday. He said, well, I have a script I'd like to send you. Let me send you a script. He said, take a look at it. If you like it, we'll do it together. And he sent me Nashville. I read it and hated it. I didn't understand a word I was reading. I couldn't get it. And I went out to lunch with him, and I said, gee, Robert, I'm dying to work with you, but I don't get this script. And he said, well, let me explain the movie to you. Let me tell you what I'm going to do with it. And he told me, and I said, okay, that sounds great. I said, okay. I said, I'll do it. I said, how much is it going to cost me? He said, $2 million. I said, okay, I'll pay for it. He said, no, you don't do it that way. He said, you don't do that. I said, why? He said, because you can get a studio to pay for it. Well, I didn't really know how to, know anything about movies, and that wasn't my business, wasn't my world. And I said, well, okay, I said, I guess with you, with MASH and McCabe and Mrs. Miller, it would be easy. So he said, yeah, don't worry about it. So I said, okay. So I said, we'll do it. And I went to the studios, and I knew everybody who ran studios who were my friends. And they said to me, Jerry, not Robert Altman, he's crazy. Don't bring him out here. He's nuts. We don't want them. So I couldn't get anybody to pay for it because Robert was his own man and his own kind of filmmaker. He lived in the studios. So I went back to him and I said, I'll pay for it. I'll personally pay for it. Just let's do it. And he said to me, well, he said, I don't like that idea. You can think of something else. You can get the money from somebody. Anyway, I sold it to ABC television. It was the first time anybody had sold a movie to TV. And I sold it for 3 runs for $2.5 million or $3 million or something. We were in profit before we started. And Altman and I made a deal. We were 50-50 partners. And we made the movie. And I remember I showed it I got Paramount to distribute it. I needed a distributor. And I took it over to Paramount, and 2 of my best friends were there. They had been at ABC. They both ended up running huge studios, one Paramount and one Disney. And I said, let me show you this movie and see what you think. So I showed it to them. And when the lights came up, this fellow, his name is Barry Diller. I don't know if you've ever read his name, but he's a famous guy. He said to me, came over, he said, Jerry, this is the most fantastic movie I've ever seen. This is absolutely brilliant. My God, you're going to make so much money. I said, how much? He said, well, you'll make at least $20 million on this. I said, really? I said, give me 10, I'll settle right now. You know, don't put it out. Just give me 10. Anyway, we did make a lot of money with it, and more importantly than the money, it was critically acclaimed, and still makes a lot of money now, and was a great leg up for me in the film business. It's what got me into the film business, and everybody. I had final cut. I had final cut on the movie because I put the money in, and I didn't even know what that meant. I had no idea what it meant, and Altman didn't want to give it to me. He was very upset. He said, all you people are crazy. What do you know about movies? Well, how can I give you final? Anyway, he gave it to me. And I didn't know how important it was until how upset I saw he got. When I saw how upset he was, I knew it was really important. So and he took the movie, the first cut of the movie was 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours. And he showed it to me, and I was so bored, I was falling asleep, you know. And I said to him, Robert, this is crazy, 4.5 hours. You know, it has to be 2 hours. He said, well, okay, well, let me call you tomorrow. And he took the movie to a critic in New York named Pauline Kael, who wrote for the New Yorker magazine. She was a very, very important film critic. And she wrote a review that you would think the heavens had opened and the earth. Better than Gone with the Wind, better than the best picture of all time. She did it again with Diner after that. It's the best picture of all time. And if anybody ever touches this movie, one frame of this movie, they should be shot dead. And he brought me the review, and he said, here, do you want to cut something in the movie? I said, no, but I want you to get it down to 2 hours. So he got it down to 2 hours and 8 minutes. And I said, that's fine, okay.
And it worked out perfectly.
Yes.
As you've been saying it, Jerry, Robert saw something in you that, you know, made you a great producer in his eyes. What do you think are the most important character traits, especially what does a good producer need? You mentioned at some point packaging. And I think that's something that is very important.
I think, you know, people ask me this question all the time. First, they ask me, what does a producer do? That's the first question they ask me. Second, the first question they said, how do I become a producer? That everybody wants to become one. Then they say, what does it do? What does he do? What does a producer do? And what do you do? Well, I really can't answer the question about what a producer does. I know what I do. You know, I know how I operate. But my MO is I find a subject or a script that I love. I surround myself with the best talent in the world, the best writers, the best directors, the best set designers, best costume designers, the best of everything. If you look at all my movies and you look at the list, it's an all-star list. It could be the greatest if you want to make a movie, that's how you make a movie. And I let them all do their jobs. And I have a vision for the film. And if I find a director who's a great director, like Soderbergh or Altman or Levinson or the people I work with, I will sit with them, and if we find that we have the same vision, we go and do it. And I make it easy for them, and I make it easy for myself because they do their job, I do my job, and I surround them with the most talented people in the world. So it's hard to go astray. We have gone astray. You know, not every picture has been successful, but I'm in the Hall of Fame, so it's okay.
You just mentioned Barry Levinson, and early on that you were talking about Dinah. That was a script that he basically brought to you as well, and he said, listen, Jerry, I want to make this movie. Yeah. And you said, I like it, and he said, I need to direct it.
Right.
So what happened, you know, from that point onwards? Because I think, you know, the storyline of Dinah didn't appeal to everyone, especially some of the studios.
Well, the storyline didn't appeal to anybody. Except me.
You.
It appealed to me.
Why?
Well, because the people that he wrote about in Baltimore, Maryland, were the same people that I grew up with in New York City. I knew them all. I knew they had different names, and they looked a little different, but they were the same people. And I knew the characters, and I knew that this happened. It happened to me. I used to sit in a place like he wrote about and say the same things that these guys were saying. So I knew that the picture would work. I knew there was something very important about the film. And then when we cast it, we were really lucky with the casting. They all became stars. All the cast of Dinah, the kids all became stars. They're not kids anymore. I just had Paul Reiser work for me. I think he was older than me. I'm not sure. Worked for me in the last movie. But I read the script, and I fell in love with it. I just fell in love with it. And I called him up, and I said, I'm going to make this movie. And he said, well, I want to direct it. I said, well, you never directed anything. And he said, well, but, you know, there was a time when you never produced anything. I said, that's true. I said, I'll take a chance with you. Here's the deal. You can shoot them. You can direct the movie. I give you 2 days only. And I look at the dailies that look at the film from the first 2 days of shooting. If it's good, you can continue on and make the film. If it's not, you're fired.
What would you have done then?
I would have fired him.
And done it yourself?
No, I don't direct. I would have found another director. I can't direct anything because I'm not focused on one thing. I can only do 10 things at a time. I'm not good at one thing. And in order to be a great director, and the great directors, I'm not just talking about directing a film, but a great director, you have to be totally focused 100%, and you can't be on the telephone, you can't be worried about your wife and worried about your children and worried about anything. You got to be worried about the movie. When I work with Soderbergh, and we've worked together a lot now, just finished a movie, he's so extraordinarily focused. And now with digital, shooting digital film, digital, he shoots for me from, say, we start 7 in the morning, we finish at 4:30 in the afternoon, 5 o'clock. I go home, eat, start drinking my vodka. By 9:30, I have all cut footage from that day that he cuts on his computer. That's focused. And also, he's so talented that people have asked me, well, tell me something about Soderbergh. Tell me, what's his personality? He's very introverted, number one. Very quiet, very introverted. That's why he and I get along so well, because I'm not so quiet. And we're a wonderful team, and we know what each other's going to do when we do it. And people have said to me, well, tell me, who is he? Who is he? I say, he is not a human being. They said, what do you mean? I said, he's a camera. He sees everything in motion, and he sees it all around, back, forward, sides. While everybody only sees, people can look ahead and they see one thing. He sees everything. And that's why he's such a great director and why we've had so much success. But he does give me film every night. I had a full cut of Liberace, which I just finished. We finished on a Friday night. On Sunday night, I had a full cut movie with music. Marvin Hamlish did the music. It was his last score before he died, and he did a full cut for me with credits and everything. Now we're still cutting it. Now we're back in playing with it. But that's how talented a man he is, and all the directors I work with. That's how good they are.
And basically, you handpick them, and you love to work with them, and they're passionate about what.
Yeah, I only work with people that are not a pain in the ass. That's number one.
And that's sometimes probably hard to find in the business.
No, there's a lot of good people around who care about making films, and they care about the business, the art, and they do it for a reason, and they have the same vision as I have. I do that. And I have never had a problem with any of the actors or directors or set designers or production and people I work with. I have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful support staff and a wonderful, wonderful crew. You know, people asked me, I told somebody this today, I did an interview with somebody, and they said, you know, you're so wonderful, you're so fantastic, you do all these things. How can one person do all these things? And I said, you know, the fact is that nobody can. And anybody who tells you they can is not telling you the truth. I have access to the greatest artists in the world, and they like to work with me, and they like to collaborate with me. And if I can collaborate with the kind of actors I have, and the kind of directors I have, and the kind of writers I have, and the kind of musicians that do my scores and do the music, and the set designers that design the sets, and the CGI artists that do the CGI work, et cetera, et cetera. If you put 20 of them in a room, they're an all-star team, the best team in the world. You know, it's hard to go wrong. You know, so it's not just me. I know it says Jerry Weintraub presents, Jerry Weintraub production, Jerry Weintraub this, Jerry Weintraub that, but it's not me alone by any stretch of the imagination.
So back in the days, there was a phone call to Colonel Tom Parker, and he said no, but nowadays it's a phone call and they all say yes.
They all say yes.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's better.
It is better. It's more exciting.
Yeah.
You know, Jerry, we have a couple of film clips that I would love to take a look at with you.
Great.
And I would love to start with Dinah because it's a classic. It's a fantastic movie, and basically all your hard work went into to produce it and make it, and it has become a cult classic.
Yes.
And some of the people, Steve Guttenberg, Mickey Rourke, they all had a great career afterwards.
Yeah.
And we
Ellen Barkin, who worked for me.
Ellen Barkin.
Who's my baby. She's my little baby. Even though she's 65 now, 60s. You know, whatever. She worked for me in Diner, and then I called her
For
Oceans. And when I called her, I said, how you doing, Ellen? How you feeling, honey? You doing all right? We're good friends. She said, nah, I'm not doing good. I'm getting married, and I'm getting divorced.
Okay.
Which was better than getting married. She married the wrong guy anyway. So she said, I'm getting divorced, and I'm not feeling too well. I'm really down in the dumps. I don't have any jobs. You know how it is for women in the movie business when they get to be 40, they're over the hill. She said, nobody wants to hire me now. And she's a great actress, so not a good actress, she's a great actress. So I said, so you don't feel good? She said, no, I don't feel good. I said, well, in about 30 seconds, you're going to feel great. She said, why? I said, because you're going to be the female lead in Oceans. What? I said, goodbye, I got to go. And she worked with me since, and she's a sweetheart and a great actress, just a great actress.
Definitely. You said that you love to work with friends and especially the greatest talent there is. If you look at Dinah, made in 1982, as you've been saying it, Kevin Bacon, Steve Guttenberg, they just started their careers. They weren't as big as someone like Brad Pitt or Matt Damon that you worked on with for the Ocean series. What did you see in them? I mean, how did you spot their talent? How did you know that they could basically bring to life what you saw in the script and could become what they became?
Well, we tested them. we didn't just put them in the movie. We tested them. And we always do that for a lot of different reasons, not just because, acting is a very difficult profession because it's a profession of rejection. I call it a profession of rejection. And one of the things I hate most about my job and what I do for a living is rejecting people. And they get rejected for so many different reasons. They could be rejected because you put the four of them in a group and they don't look right together. One just sticks out and it just doesn't work. Or you cast somebody to be, for instance, we're looking for Tarzan right now, and we're testing a lot of people. And you might be good. Anyway, so we're testing people for Tarzan, and well, it depends. It depends who Jane is and what she looks like and what kind of spark. With the Tarzan that we're doing, I don't want to get off of Dinah, but the Tarzan we're doing is a love story. And between Tarzan and Jane, it's very, very much a romance. Beside the action, there's a lot of action, but it's a romance. And you have to have two people on the screen who spark together. I made a film with two big stars. I will not name the film or the stars, but I made a film with two big stars, and they had no passion. No spark. And I knew it the first day we shot the film. Susie was standing next to me. You remember that when I called the director over and I said, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. I said, there's no energy. I don't feel anything. I don't feel like he wants to go to bed with her, and I don't feel like she wants to see him. So there's something wrong. This film is not going to stand on its own. And it didn't. It died, and it died for that reason. And I had lunch in London with the male star. He's a big star now. And I said to him, what went wrong with that? He said, Jerry, I meant to tell you the whole time when we were rehearsing, I just never felt her. Never wanted to go to bed with her. Never. And if you don't have that thing going between two actors, if it's a romance, or camaraderie, that these guys have, and a camaraderie that Pitt and Clooney and Damon and Cheadle and those guys had. You can't make these things work. They don't work. You can take them from the dressing room to the stage, and then you don't get anything. Unless you're making a movie where Batman flies over the moon and stops a truck, But if you're making a movie about people and about relationships, which are the movies I like and I care about, you need to have a spark. I just made a movie about two men who had a love affair, and it's with Michael Douglas and Matt Damon, Liberace, and it's a beautiful, beautiful love affair, and there's a great spark between these two guys. I mean, you look at it and it's beautiful. It's not, it's not something from an adult bookstore. It's beautiful. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but you have to have people who can communicate with each other and who care about each other.
And you can see it on the screen.
Yeah, and you can feel it in your seat when you're in the audience.
Nashville and Dinah were original scripts. There's something else on the screen right here, Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3. 3 movies that you've produced. And then there was sort of, I wouldn't call it remake, but a new version done about 2 years ago with Will Smith's son. What was that like for you to sort of take that story back from the 80s to the new era, and what was important for you story-wise to keep in there?
Well, the fact of the matter is I made 4 Karate Kids before the last one, before the Jaden Smith one. I made one with a girl.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Hilary Swank was her first movie. And it didn't work particularly well. But we made money, a lot of money with it because of the name Karate Kid. And then we let it go to sleep for a long time. We didn't touch it, didn't bother with it. And Will Smith came to see me one day. And it was a great artist, a wonderful actor and terrific family, nice guy, really nice guy. And he said to me, I'd really like my son to be the Karate Kid. He said, I know from my youth, I grew up on that movie, and I know every line in the movie. I can tell you every line. He said, I watched it 1,000 times. He said, I can't stop watching it. I love it so much. He said, and I think Jaden could be a great Karate Kid. And I said, you know, Will, I don't think it's a good idea. I really don't. I said, when you start remaking classics, that's a classic. When you start remaking classics with new actors and this and that, and it just never seems to be this, just, you know, like we're doing it for money. It never seems to be the same. And he said to me, you got to think this through, Jerry. He said, I really think this kid can do it. He said, I know this boy. Anyway, I finally said, okay, let's try it. And we got a script. And the script was not unlike the first Karate Kid. It was about as close as you could get without just ripping it off, you know. We ripped off a lot of it. And got a director who understood it. And then this boy went to a karate coach and did all the stunts himself. Much better than Ralph Macchio did it in the original. Because Ralph Macchio, who I love him dearly. He's, how old is he now, 60?
No, yeah, I think he's like 54, yeah, 53.
He was just on Dancing with the Stars, so I saw him all the time. He came over to the house all the time. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I love him. He directs now. He's a really terrific guy. Anyway, he didn't know, he wasn't very balletic when he did Karate Kid. He didn't move very well. And it was a problem. Jaden, on the other hand, is balletic and is a dancer and has rhythm and has movement. And I don't think Jaden Smith's Karate Kid is better than Ralph Macchio's Karate Kid, but I think it's right up there with it. And the picture was a huge, huge success around the world. Did about $500 million around the world. And my guess is, because I have a crystal ball, that the next one should start in about 9 or 10 weeks. Am I right? Around 9 or 10 weeks.
Okay, so Jaden is still going to be the Karate Kid.
Yes, he's going to be the Karate Kid. He is now the Karate Kid.
And Jackie Chan is Pat Morita.
Jackie Chan will be, well, he's not Pat Morita. Jackie,
no, but he's basically the mentor.
Pat Morita couldn't do any karate either. I mean, he was terrible.
That's why Ralph had to wash the
wax on, wax off.
Yeah, exactly.
He knew how to do that.
Up and down.
But Pat did this very well. You know, Pat, he could do.
But you didn't want to work with him at first, did you?
No, I didn't want to work with Pat because he was a comedian in New York, and he used to do what we call club dates for a very little amount of money, and he wasn't a very good comedian, and he called himself the Hip Nip, which wasn't very nice, but that's what he called himself. And he used to come out on stage and put his glasses on, crooked, and say, "Remember Pearl Harbor?" That's how he started his act. So I wasn't very interested in him as an actor. But John Avildsen, who had directed Rocky, and because of what he did in Rocky, I hired him to do Karate Kid, said to me, "I want you to look at Pat Morita. He's great." And I said, "I don't want to do Pat Morita." I said, "He's not for me." I said, I know him for a lot of years, and I know he's a comedian, and he's not my cup of tea, and I don't want him. And he said, "He's great, Jerry. He's great." No, I'm not interested. And I went on a worldwide search to find Miyagi. And I went to Kabuki Theater in Japan, and I went every place I could go in the world that there might be a Japanese man to play this part. And finally, I got a phone call one day, and Toshiro Mifune, see, Susan's the executive producer of all the movies, and she really is the boss, and she really knows. She knows everything I don't know. So Toshiro Mifune came to me and he wanted to do the part. His managers called me, his agents, and all these people. And they came out to the studio, about 20 people, and we were sitting in the room, and I kept asking him questions. I was trying to get to know him. And every time I asked a question, somebody else answered it. He never answered it. So finally I got fed up with the whole meeting, and I said to everybody, get the hell out of my office, get out of my office. And I threw him out. I said, you, Mr. Mafuni, you wait here. And he waited. And I said to him, tell me something, do you speak English? He said, no. I said, well, how did you do Grand Prix? You did Grand Prix with John Frankenheimer. He said, well, ask him. I don't know. So I called Frankenheimer. He said, Jerry, don't do it. I had to dub every line. So it didn't work out. And he wanted the part so badly that he went to the costume company. And he was a great actor. Mafuni was, seriously great actor, kabuki theater actor. And he went to the costume company and had all the costumes made for himself that Miyagi wore, and had 8x10s taken, pictures taken, and sent them to me. I have them. I still have them. They're a collector's item. And then I went back and eBay. And then then I went to sat in the office one day, and I was having a sandwich, and I was going to cancel a picture. I wasn't going to make the picture until I found Miyagi, because unless you find Miyagi, no picture. Doesn't work. Anyway, I had already hired Ralph Macchio, and John Allison came in my office. He slammed the door, he locked the door, and he said, you must watch this. And he stuck, in those days, a VHS in the machine and turned it on, and there was Pat Morita doing a reading of Miyagi. He went over to his house, and he had him read it. And I knew that I was a dead pigeon. And I called him, and I said, come on out to the studio, and we'll test you with Ralph. And next day we did. I remember it like it was yesterday. And we tested the two of them. And when I looked at the film the next morning, I cried. And I knew that they were just magic.
And he got nominated for an Oscar supporting actor.
He was great. He was brilliant in the part. And I was wrong, and I admitted it after the first 20 million I got. I admitted it. But Avildsen was absolutely right about him, and he had a feeling about him. And you know, that's the kind of crazy world I live in, you know. You make mistakes, but sometimes you get away with it. I made a mistake, but
to know.
It turned out all right.
I think we are running out of time, and there's so much to talk about. I think it's now time to ask the audience if they want to ask you any questions, if you're up for it. Gibt es irgendwelche Fragen aus dem Publikum? Möchte jemand gerne an Jerry Weintraub eine Frage stellen? Wir haben ein Mikrofon. Anyone? Don't be shy. Der Gentleman over here. Haben wir ein Mikrofon? Ja, ne? There's a gentleman in the fourth row on the right-hand side. Würden Sie aufstehen und sich kurz vorstellen? Das ist nett, danke.
Hey, my name's Tobias. It's nice meeting you here. So I have a question about you finding stories, finding ideas. Do usually the ideas find you, like with Altman, or do you find the ideas? Or to set it a bit differently, did you ever produce a movie who got offered by you a script from a nobody? I don't have one with me.
Where is the script? Do you have? You have the script with you? Or you no. Okay, good. Because I thought that was next. But the fact of the matter is that I would take an idea from the doorman outside, anybody, the waiter, anybody who's got a great idea. I'm open ears. You never know where it comes from. Many of my films, I have been original ideas of mine, like Karate Kid was an original idea, original concept. But I read scripts, and I have people. I don't read every script and every book that comes in. I can't do it. You know, I don't have time to do it. But I have people who read scripts, and I read scripts, and I'm always looking for material. It's very rare because of not because I'm a big shot. It's very rare for something to come out, a book to come out, or a script to come out by a great writer that doesn't come across my desk. Because people know I can get movies made. I make movies. So it's such a big share of material. I'm working on 5 or 6 things right now that I'm very excited about. And I'm 75, so it takes me 2-3 years to make a movie. So where does that get me? I'll be 98. So I'm not looking really for a lot of material. But if a book came across my desk that I fell in love with, or a script came across my desk that people bring me, you never know. Lightning could strike. I could say, wow, I can't not do that. I have to do that.
Did it ever happen?
Yes. Yeah, sure it has. It absolutely has. Absolutely.
You said something about a movie that you're going to be producing and shooting in Germany, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually Susan's father. It's a story of his life, and he was a motorcycle rider, and the greatest stuntman that we had in our business. He did the jump in The Great Escape. You all know The Great Escape, Steve McQueen. You know the great motorcycle jump? That was Susie's father that did that jump. And Steve McQueen was his friend. And Steve McQueen rode motorcycles with him. I'm not doing the Steve McQueen story. I'm doing the Bud Eakins story. But it's called Triumph. And it's about a racing team that came from America that Bud brought over here with his brother. And McQueen was on the team. And he came over here to do the jump in The Great Escape. And the movie opens, interestingly enough, interesting to me, maybe not interesting to you, but it will be when you see the film. I was troubled because I didn't want to do a film about McQueen. McQueen was such a big movie star that I didn't want to do the Steve McQueen story. It didn't interest me. So I had to take the script away from McQueen and make it into the Bud Eakins story. And the way we did that, the mechanism that we used, we opened the movie in the field where the jump for The Great Escape was done. And the camera comes in and you see a movie crew, and you see a chair that says Steve McQueen on the back, and then you see a motorcycle come out of nowhere, and you see that jump in The Great Escape. And then you see the director of the movie come down, and he's to Steve McQueen's chair. You never see Steve McQueen's face, and he says to him, "Did you see that? Can you believe what that guy just did? He did that in one take. Did you see that jump?" And Steve McQueen says, "Well, what do you expect? That was Bud Eakins." So that gets you into the Bud Eakins story. It takes you out of the McQueen story.
Sounds great. When is that going to be out?
We're going to do that. Depending on, well, I can't tell you who, but depending on, we're casting it right now. And I have a number of actors who want to play the role. It's a great role, terrific role. So we're casting it right now. And even though it's Susie's father, she does not have cast approval. But it should be early next year.
The lady right here in the front row. Nee, keine Frage. Gibt es noch eine Frage? Sie haben eine Frage.
I want to know where you first saw John Denver sing.
I found John Denver in the singing in the Chad Mitchell Trio. He was a singer. He was nobody, and I liked him. I thought he was personable, and he had talent, and we spent some time together. I met his wife. She was Annie, the great song, Annie's song. And we struck up a very close relationship, and I worked with him for many, many years. We did very well together. Yes? Good. Good. He had the talent.
Frage from the gentleman over there in the back.
Hi, Jerry. Nice meeting you. My name is Marcus. I got a question about music business, actually, because you've been involved in actually the golden ages of music business. Now, everything changed dramatically, with pricing, so piracy, whatever, internet, iTunes. What do you think, you could reproduce same success today, or how do you think, or where is music business heading today?
Well, the music business is not what it used to be. You can't sell records like we sold. I mean, I sold, with the Bee Gees, I used to sell, 25 million albums. With Denver, I used to sell 10, 12 million albums. You can't do that anymore. It's all downloaded and it's all on computers and so on and so forth. So for an artist to make it today, they have to be a touring artist. That's the only way they really make it. And really, the only thing that people seem to be interested in the music business, I'm not in it anymore, so I'm not a really great guy to ask. I have certain artists that I think are brilliant, like this guy, what's his name, Brown? No, the one who beat up Rihanna, what's his name?
Chris Brown.
Yeah, Chris Brown. I think he's a fantastic artist. I don't think he should beat Rihanna, but he's a great artist. And I think that she's a great artist as well. And I think there are a number of great people around. But people that go to shows seem to want to go to see the Eagles and Led Zeppelin and McCartney and all the stuff from my time, Pink Floyd, and the Moody Blues are still out touring. So, and there's, these guys, Mick Jagger's jumping around the stage, he's 71, and he's jumping up and down the stage. So I don't know how people break through in the music business anymore. I really don't. And I'm glad I'm not in it, because I wouldn't know where to start. I gave my business to a man named Irving Azoff, who's done extraordinarily well in it. He does very, very well. But his mainstay acts are the same people that I had, the Eagles and Neil Diamond and stuff like that. I don't know how you do it now.
What about movie piracy?
The what?
Movie piracy.
Movie piracy.
Yeah.
Well, we had, it costs us a lot of money. Movie piracy costs us a lot of money. But when you download a movie, you have to watch it on a small screen. No matter how big your television set is at home, you're still going to watch it on a screen, not a movie screen. And you're not going to watch it, you're not going to have the experience with a lot of people. That's why people still go to concerts, in my opinion. That's why there'll always be a movie business, and theaters will never close, because kids like to experience the film with other kids, with other people. Music, you can experience by yourself. I swim every morning, and I listen to music when I'm swimming. Now, I listen to Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald and Count Basie, because that's what I love. But you could download music, you can live with music by yourself, you can be by yourself and enjoy music, or with a nice looking woman and a nice, nice Sinatra song in bed. That's not bad, you can do that too. So music's a different animal than film. So film piracy, it gets pirated. Our biggest problem with film piracy was in China. And now China has decided to buy the film business in America. They're buying all the theaters. So now they don't want any piracy, because they don't want to steal from themselves. So I think we're okay in piracy right now.
There's a question from the lady all the way in the back with the white jacket. Da hinten, die Dame mit dem Weiß. Wenn Sie aufstehen kurz, dann kriegen Sie auch ein Mikrofon.
Mr. Weintraub, welcome to Zurich and happy 75th birthday. You seem to be, despite all of your success and all of your millions and the beautiful mansion in Beverly Hills, you seem to be very inspired by the simplicities in life. Is there something that you still wish to capture on film, or a film that you have yet to make that captures the simplicity of life and the things that inspire you?
Yeah, I think I still am a starry-eyed kid from Brooklyn. I haven't really changed very much, even with my mansions, and I have a lot of mansions, not just Beverly Hills. I got a lot of them. So, and I have all the toys and all the things and all the material things that any man could want. I'd like to get my back fixed. I'd give you one of my mansions if somebody could fix my back and my knee. But yeah, there are things I want to make and things I want to say and things I want to do, and that's what Triumph's about. And that's why I'm doing Tarzan, because I want to do this romantic story, because I think you can do a big action movie and still have characters that are important and mean something and have a reason for being there, not just because they're pretty or because they're knocking down a tree or swinging through the vines. So I think that, yeah, there are things I want to do. I'm not, I get passionate about something when I'm working on it now. I don't get passionate about just anything. And I don't go see a lot of other movies unless it's a friend of mine and I go to see it because he asked me to come and look at it in the editing room. I don't spend a lot of time in the movie theaters. I really like to watch sports on television. That's my favorite thing to do. And I have all these TV sets in the house, and I watch football. I love football. Not your football, my football. American football. American football. But I love it, and I like soccer too. I like your football too, but my passion is American football. But I get excited about things. Things excite me a lot. If I see an actor, I met an actor the other day in London for lunch, named Chris Hemsworth, who I'm sure many of you know, who was Thor and Snow White and the Huntsman, etc. I think he's going to be the biggest movie star I've ever met. I think he's an extraordinary talent and extraordinary looking person and had great depth. I spent a couple hours with him, great depth. And I'm passionate to find something to do with him. And he knows it. And I will. I'll find something. That's what gets me going.
One last question from the lady right here in the first row. Hier vorne. Die Dame. Yep, genau.
Hello, I'm Janine Dörfler. I would like to thank you, I think for everybody, for the very humoristic and exciting and warm way you are giving us insight into your great life. I do have a question. That is, going back to the music, with all the great bands that you have been producing, at the times they went all on, they were recorded on vinyls, right? On vinyl records?
Vinyl,
yes. And so nowadays we are in a CD period. What do you think? Is there still any value on all those records? Are you a collector of all those vinyls yourself? Yeah.
They all go on eBay as well.
eBay.
Are you going on eBay, right?
eBay, yeah. I have them because they're left over from the past. But the fact is that I am a big believer in technology. And I'm starting to shoot films now digitally, not on film, but digitally. Because I think that technology is great. And I think what the young people are doing today with computers and the stuff that you can manufacture and make, and it's still very creative, maybe more creative than what we did back then. I don't know. You couldn't get the sound on a vinyl record that you get on a CD. You'd never get the sound, never be able to hear it. And the great speakers that they've invented now. I mean, I have better speakers that I listen to on my Bose headsets than we ever could manufacture 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Sound is great, so things sound so much better. And you know, we used to work, when we did, I remember when the Mellotron was first invented, so we didn't have to use orchestras. Anyway, I'll leave you with just one story, and then I'll give one last story.
We have plenty.
Because I have to go get a drink.
Couple more minutes.
You know, it's way past my drinking time. As my caddy in Scotland at St. Andrews, where I belong, tells me all the time, you hitting too many shots. I said, well, I can't help it. I'm not playing well today. And he said, you're into my drinking time. So here's Elvis. I forgot the story I was going to tell you, so we don't have to worry about it. But anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed it. I really appreciate you coming, Carl, Sworian, Vivian. I appreciate you having me here, and the co-director that met me tonight at the door of this symposium, or whatever it is. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Please go see my movies. No passes. Pay. You have to pay.
Big
Thank
round
you.
of applause. Jerry Weintraub.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you so much.